I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my husband works full-time. We have 3 kids and one of them is 2 years old. My husband helps a lot with the kids. He's a committed dad, but is absolutely against babysitters due to an awful incident with a babysitter that was the reason his younger male cousin James got disabled years ago. I don't go out much, since I have to take the kids with me, and not every place is suitable for kids. We received an invitation from my brothers, who has been my husband's friend since college, wedding which we later discovered was child-free. My brother lives states away, so the entire trip will take 4 days as well as my brother's in-laws' weekend dinner party, their tradition. I told my husband I want to go, since it's been a while since I've been to a wedding, and this one is special, and suggested we get a trusted friend as a babysitter. He asked if I was serious to consider leaving our 2-year-old with a babysitter and suggested that I do what I normally do and stay home with the kids while he goes to the wedding. I refused and said I have as much right to attend as him since we both were invited. He said it wasn't his fault my brother wants a child-free wedding and I should do this for the kids and sacrifice for their sake. I still refused and said this was unfair and since he's a parent too then he should also stay for the kids. He looked at me and said, "That's my best friend's wedding you're asking me to skip for Christ's sake, are you kidding me?" Then said I was being petty for suggesting this and that I was basically choosing to go and party over keeping our kids safe. He asked me to consider this a business trip. What would I do? Go with him and leave the kids? I said I understand his paranoia of babysitters, but really all my friends have sitters and at times they're really needed. He said I ought to know better than what my friends tell me, and this wasn't even up for discussion, and when I kept arguing he called me selfish and said he won't let me ruin his relationship with his friend because I was being spiteful for not being able to attend and that my brother will understand my situation. He keeps asking who's more important, a wedding party or my kids, and said I was unreasonable for making my attendance the hill to die on. Am I the idiot? Am I being selfish for wanting to attend this wedding, my brother's wedding after 4 years not attending anything? Not the idiot. This is insane. It's your brother and somehow your husband thinks he is the one who should get to go. When he's the whole reason you can't both go because of his unreasonable paranoia about hiring a babysitter. Honestly, if I was you I'd be absolutely prepared to die on this hill. He's got away with holding you hostage to this nonsense for years. There is not one single logical reason why he should be allowed to attend rather than you, and if he was prepared to work on his own emotional baggage, then you could just hire a sitter like any other couple would do in this scenario. This is 1,000,000,000% on him. If anyone stays home with the kids, it should be him. It's your brother's wedding. Yes, it's his friend, but it is your brother. It seems ridiculous here that he feels he has more right to go to this wedding. Flip every argument back on him. He's choosing partying over his own kids. He's asking you to skip for Christ's sake. What's more important, a wedding party or his kids? His paranoia over babysitters is also extreme. I get being nervous leaving your kid with someone else, but if it's a friend that you know well, and that person knows your kids and your kids are comfortable with them, then that should be okay. A 4-night stay for the kids with a sitter would be a very big first step, so if you have time then you could start with smaller steps. But your husband is being absolutely ridiculous here. The idiot, and also wow. I am going to really plead with you here to take a hard look at your marriage through some different eyes. Abuse is not always physical, and not always name-calling. It isn't always obvious. Abuse can be subtle and insidious, and it can sound reasonable on the surface, which makes it so much harder to see when you are in it. Reading your post made my anxiety go through the roof because it felt so familiar to a relationship I was in. I didn't see all the layers of manipulation and control until I was on the outside. Please. Stop and really look at your relationship. Talk to someone outside of it. A professional if you can. I, 27, have been seeing my boyfriend, 29, for about 9 months. I think things are going well, at least for the most part. However, there is just one small bone of contention between us. A few months before we met I had ended things with another man. He was a full 17 years older than me, and we had been together for a couple of years before the age difference eventually caught up with us, and I broke it off with him. During my past relationship my ex-boyfriend had gifted me a jeweled bracelet for my birthday. I loved it, I love the way it looks, and I ended up getting attached to it. I wear it pretty much always, unless I'm showering or exercising. I even sleep with it on. Maybe that's strange, but I just like having it on for whatever reason. It wasn't something that was wildly expensive, I wouldn't wear it all the time if it were, but it has some value. My current boyfriend didn't really notice the bracelet at first, but eventually he did. Once he asked me about it, and I told him where it came from. He said, "Really? Why are you still wearing jewelry from your ex? That's not normal." I have no idea whether or not it's normal, but again I just like the bracelet. It was a gift and me wearing it has nothing to do with my ex. But my boyfriend has asked that I at least not wear the bracelet around him because he now can't unknow that it was a gift from my ex. I think he's being silly, but although he won't say it, I get the feeling one of his issues is that my ex was fairly well off while my current is still largely getting his feet under him in his career and can't afford to give me something like the bracelet. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Women do not need to throw away their entire past just because they get a new boyfriend. For God's sake. This is absolutely ridiculous. You cannot be expected to toss every artifact associated with men from your past. You would basically have to trash a large quantity of your belongings after every single relationship. And what about this guy? Does he have anything in his possession that has ever come into contact with a previous girlfriend? Has his mom ever bought him a gift that he still has? Does he have any female friends? Where is the line drawn? No idiots here. I'm conflicted on this one. On one hand, he has no business telling you what to wear and you enjoy it. On the other hand, I can understand that it could feel kinda icky with you being so attached to an item gifted by an ex. Neither of you are in the wrong, but if you become serious, maybe let him replace it with something you like just as much, build some new memories, not because you're obligated, but it would be a nice gesture. I really can't decide, and I think you both have valid points about this. It may be making him feel insecure about his relationship with you and his finances, and you sound like you are digging in regards to your personal fashion choices. One of the hardest things I ever did was taking off a friendship bracelet a friend gave me who I was in love with for my prom with my current husband. I loved that bracelet and wore it everywhere, but I had to make a choice between my current relationship or one that was doomed from the start. My friend had a girlfriend, had never shown any overt interest in me, and I had moved countries. Also, I was in high school, so I've done harder things since then. I think you need to make your choice. I am 28 and engaged to a great man the same age as me. We've been dating since we were 16 and got engaged at 24, 4 years ago. I have a best friend, Angela, who's also 28, she's a woman as well as me. Angela has barely grown out of the high school mentality. She still acts like she did back then, clubbing every weekend, hooking up, always out with friends, new and old. She never had a boyfriend or girlfriend, she only has had situationships, so she doesn't know how commitment works. I don't judge her for that, since she seems fine with her life, and I'm happy that my friends are being themselves and I get to be myself despite having different interests. Lately I had my suspicions that Angela believes that she still comes before my fiancé just because we were each other's number one priority in high school. I tried to slip in multiple times without being confrontational that my fiancé and I are gonna be a family soon and how he's my priority and so on, just to get the message across without having some uncomfortable conversation. She didn't seem to get it though. And something dramatic ended up happening. Angela's birthday was 2 days ago, and she planned on having a celebration tomorrow night. The place she picked was a male club. I texted her and told her I wouldn't feel comfortable to attend because clubs cross my and my fiancé's boundaries. It's not because we don't trust each other, but we just don't feel comfortable with that in our relationship. Anyone who knows about this boundary has told us it's a normal boundary. Angela said that I would be stupid to imply that I'll skip her birthday. I said that we could hang out the two of us someday and go for drinks, but I just don't feel comfortable attending a club. She said, "But I'm your best friend. You're not gonna skip your best friend's birthday, are you?" I said, "Sadly I'll skip it, but I insisted on an alternative for another day." She got disappointed and said she didn't expect me to ever put a man's needs over our friendship. I reminded her he's my fiancé. She argued that him being a fiancé of mine doesn't mean he deserves special treatment over her. I told her that's exactly what she means, and I reminded her that she's not equal to my fiancé anymore in such situations because he's the person I'm gonna marry and have a family with, and he's my #1 priority. I probably shouldn't have said that because she claims I'm the idiot and I replaced her when I used to have her as my #1. I apologized for that phrasing and tried to explain what I meant, but she wasn't having it and said I should go cry to my fiancé, and she doesn't need my fake apology. I didn't mean to hurt her feelings, I just felt like she was pushing me and had a one-sided competition with my fiancé, and I said that. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You set a mutually agreed upon boundary and you're following it. If she can't understand and respect that, she's not your friend. Many people would be uncomfortable having a birthday in a club, not just you. If she truly didn't consider that when she made the decision, that's her fault. Also, she was the one who pushed you to prioritize between her and your fiancé. If she wasn't going to be happy with your response, she shouldn't have put you in that position. Everyone's the idiot here. But it's because the conflict only arises because you're not owning the fact that you're not comfortable with people going to clubs when they're in a relationship. It's fine that you feel that way and found a partner who agrees. It's also admirable that you stick to these values when pressed, but this conflict isn't actually about placing your fiancé above your best friend. It's about your values vis-a-vis clubs. Making the decision about your ranking of other people instead of your own choices means you've created conflict between two other people where none should exist. I took my best friend to a male club, thinking we could have a good night out without the sleazes hitting on us, because I understood she needed some time. Well, that plan didn't work. She's now 5 years strong into a relationship with a guy who was doing the exact same thing for his best friend. When she was engaged, though we went to alternative clubs, the best being a circus, that turned into a club. It even had a swimming pool. But we only went there because she was engaged. So yeah, not the idiot. If your best friend wants to go to a club then fine, and I hope she has an amazing night. But your rules with your fiancé are your rules. No questions asked. I haven't taken my kids on a real vacation since pre-pandemic, but now that we're all vaccinated, I want to take them to Disneyland. My brother Jack, whose kids are about the same age, feels the same. Disneyland is expensive, the trip will be about $8,000 each family total, but my brother and I both have great jobs, so it's not a struggle for us. My sister Jane is always talking about how broke and underpaid she is and complaining about her student loans. I don't know her salary, but she's a social worker, so I know it's not a ton. Well, my brother and I figured she won't be able to afford it based on a couple weeks ago when we brought up the idea of a vacation at a Labor Day cookout, and she just went on about how she wishes she could afford a family vacation. Well, since she said she could, we just didn't invite her and planned a trip with our wives and our kids. This weekend people were over and my nephew, Jack's son, brought up how excited he is for Disney. To which Jane asked about it, and the details came out. We had just decided in the last week to go there. And then Jane got all mad for not getting invited. I told her I didn't invite her because she literally said she could afford a vacation. She then said I was rubbing it in that we make more money than her and that we could have covered part of her trip and then had a real family vacation with everyone. I just felt like as we're all adults with our own families, we're past the age I'd be subsidizing her for anything that's not an emergency. But then yesterday she sent a really passive-aggressive text about it, basically calling us idiots. Not the idiot. She clearly stated she doesn't have the funds, she confronts you about not inviting her, and when remind her of her very own words, she plays the victim. Sure sounds like she only brought it up for the sole purpose of trying to make you feel bad. You're absolutely correct. You're adults with families. We choose our own paths in life, and where some can't afford big trips like this, others can. No one can expect others to not go or flip the bill to include others. Not the idiot, because there's really no right way to handle this. If you don't ask, she may be upset she was never asked. If you do ask, she may be upset you're dangling a trip you know she can't afford in front of her. I do have some sympathy for your sister though. As a social worker, she likely works long hours dealing with tough situations to help people when they really need it, only to turn around and be paid so little she can't take her family on vacation occasionally. My sister is a single mom of 2 kids who lives with our parents. They have gone to Disney many times, my family has never gone. My parents talk about going with us, but we haven't been able to save up for a trip because while my parents will pay for my sister and her kids, they refuse to even pay partial expenses for us. We have never asked them to do so either. I wouldn't expect them to pay for my family either. We have missed out on many fun trips because we couldn't afford them and financial aid was not offered. You plan your vacation and go. Don't let her sour attitude ruin it for you all. My fiance's sister and mother just passed away in an accident, and her sister left behind her 6-year-old son and daughter, and my fiance pretty much immediately started talking about flying the kids here to move in with us. I have never been interested in having kids. I have nothing against kids in general, I just personally don't want to raise or live with any kids and have always been very clear on that, and I thought my fiance was the same. So I reiterated my stance on having kids and said I'm not going to change my mind on that now. My fiancé claims we're the only people who can take in these kids, which seems strange because she has a brother who has the bonus of living close to where the kids have been living, so they wouldn't even have to change schools. My fiancé says her brother can't take them because of money and being too busy, though I'm sure he could do it if he really wanted to. I'm pretty sure you get money from the government for taking in orphan kids if you need financial help. Also, he's about to inherit a bunch of money from his mom. I said if my fiancé insists on taking in these kids, we will no longer be compatible and will unfortunately have to end the relationship and she'll have to move out of my place. She's mad that I'm making her choose between me and the kids, even though there's really nothing else I can do, because I simply am not going to take in these kids. I just have zero interest in raising kids. I think it's completely unfair to expect me to upturn my life for two random kids I've never even met just because her brother can't be bothered. She claims I'm basically saying the kids have to go to foster care or I'll kick her out and leave her with nowhere to go and two kids to care for, which is a bit dramatic because again, they have an uncle I bet could take them in with a bit of effort, and if she really must be the one to take them, she could just move into her mom's old place or her sister's old place. She's also saying that I'm basically threatening to break up with her and kick her out right after her mom and sister died, but I don't see that I had a lot of choice since she was ready to bring two kids into my place and it was either tell her my stance now or wait until she'd already moved them in. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. Surprised by the no idiots here comments. You're not the idiot for not wanting to take in the kids, but for your lack of empathy for the situation. Your fiancée just lost her sister and mother. She's not acting dramatic, she is grieving. Of course she might not be acting as logical as you want her to be and won't realize your obvious solutions. It could be that she wants to take in the kids as so she can have family around, as well as honor her sister's memory, without having to leave you and the life you two have. You established it's not feasible, but at least take the time to help her process this whole ordeal. No idiots here. A similar experience happened in my family recently. Every parent with living relatives owes their child and their family a clear plan in case of tragedy like this. Things had been prepared for in our case, which was crucial because of a child with extreme special needs, but I imagine that some people in our extended family must have had some real food for thought in the immediate aftermath. Tell your fiancée that if she is adamant, an unfortunate consequence is that your relationship must end. You can't be expected to adjust to such a profound change in your situation.